Oh. Oh, it's gone up to 250 now. Look at that. The king. A strong king. Oh boy. Much like Neferpito and FILMBuFF, kind of looks petite. At least in this, at this stage. And palm. Her and Slaughter though, a great shot, look at that. Oh, look at that, drenched in sweat. Okay, boys. Right. She's not gonna let him rest. Ooh, whoa. She wants them to go have a go at a depleted state. Right, it's all part of the training. This is the type of training it's going to require, boys, just to kind of be, I don't know, just to hang in there in the NGL. Look at that. There's that saying, right? They keep kind of bringing up animals and hunters. Animals and good hunters. Okay. I mean, they're running on fumes at this point. Oh, yeah, look at them. Oh, yes. Now, surely... Yeah, oh, wow. Yeah, really quite draining. Surely he'll pick up on this. Let's get his first time take on them. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Ooh. That's his first time take, isn't it? Oh. Couple of kids, yeah. He's not the first. Ooh. Looming presence. Intimidating presence. After a good night's sleep. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Hold on there. Hold on. He's taking a bit of pity on them, right? That's true as well. Right, seeing them in this state, kind of show up. Ooh. Look at this. Okay, gone? Yeah. He saw the level. Whoa. Look at this growth on display here. Yeah, he saw some serious shit out there. Kid packs a punch. I love how expressive he is and the detail in those expressions. Yeah, yeah, that's right. He wasn't expecting that. He's the third person to really struggle. Ooh. Getting through, and that the Chimera ant, the one that had the arms. Oof. Beautiful. Ah, yes. To punch him in the belly? I mean, that's... I love him. I love him. Nah, he's a good guy. He is. I've seen enough already at this point. Ah, yeah. Yeah, the haircut's kind of reminding me of... Join the club. They're used to it as well, though, right? I mean, the fact that they're still around and training, that means, yeah, they didn't take it. Too soon, too soon. I mean, the goal of it is to just get stronger and, you know, kind of get ready for the NGL, the return to the NGL. Getting the token now would have been kind of pointless. Beast Hunter. Do tell? Oh. Ah, okay. Gon's going to like this. Oh. My friend, those blows might be the last blows. Yeah, in this really specific case. Yeah. Right, right? He applied his philosophy. Oh. Right. They do indeed. Look at him. I love that. Oh, god damn, that looks good. Yeah, I'm looking at that triangle shape on his head, his hair. He might actually be from the silhouette shot of the hunters. Take it easy now, take it easy. Oh, did she? Oh, I think she did. She made the food, eh? That took her by surprise. Him really liking it. He's taken to them as well. He wants to help them. 2 episodes and I love this guy. Ooh, back in the NGL. I'm hoping to see a bit more of FILMBuFF. Ooh, ah. Whoa. Look at this, the training fit. It's a bit of a little mini training arc for him as well then, eh? Might be a little bit rusty. So it is a pocket dimension then? Nah, Colt's not gonna. Yeah. He said it before already, just don't bother the queen at the moment. Dono. Interesting. Whoa. Oh god. She's got no interest in going out there right now. All this equipment, it's a full-on lab at this point. A bit of DBZ inspiration again. My god, Kaito, all that scarring on him. Look at this, the back and forth. Look at that. A step ahead. Steps ahead, actually, at this point. They need the big one. They need Neferpito to leave, but she's not going to leave. And they're kind of like training partners for Netero. Hold on, Nav. Hold on. They usually don't. Oh. You know, now I'm kind of beginning to see the reasoning behind Netero's selection, picking these specific people to kind of, you know, pit against each other. I mean, I haven't seen Shoot yet, but, you know, I have a good idea of his disposition at this point. Really quite similar to Gon, but there's some key differences. And perhaps Shoot might be a bit more similar to Killua, but I'm sure there's a few key differences there as well. I love that he's so open to helping them as well. And of course, let's not forget Palm. Oh, beautiful. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how Gon really approached it in the first half. His internal monologue. He's open to helping them, but he's not a pushover. Palm? Oh, no. Spot on. This has got to be Shoot then. From the shadows. Kind of like Gon. Oh, wow. Even more depleted at that point. It's quite an anime look. Right then, now I've seen both of the assassins or challengers. I suppose Netero used the term assassins, right? I mean, interesting term to use for them, because their role in this is to hold on to the tokens, right? They're not really going after Gon and Killua, right? As the term assassin might kind of dictate, you know? But yeah, I've seen the second half of that duo, Shoot, and almost immediately you see the contrast between Shoot and Knuckle, right? And really quite comparable to Gon and Killua as well, right? Yin and yang, you know, kind of the perfect mix, right? Perfect balance of the two types of personalities and approaches. So yeah, you know, Shoot certainly has a plan of action in mind. He actually does kind of plan on living up to that moniker of assassin, right? Because he plans on ambushing them or kind of attacking them in more of a depleted state than even before, right? So, I mean, at that point, they're not going to be able to really defend much, right? Gon and Killua. Now, you know, it'll be interesting to see how Knuckle reacts to that if he is around them at that point, around the time Shoot does kind of make his move, because you can see at this point, by the end of this episode, I mean really early on in this episode, even perhaps around the midpoint, you can tell
I mean, listen, even before, really early on, you see, his reaction to seeing these kids in this state, in this really depleted, exhausted state coming out here to challenge him. You see the tears building up. And yeah, it takes both me and the two boys by surprise, right? Gon and Killua. And almost immediately, I think they also got a taste or understanding of the type of person he is, the type of personality that he has, right? Killua is kind of leaning a bit more towards, okay, he's not as scary as he first appeared to be, because you see that he is able to exude quite a menacing aura, right? Or presence. I think that's the exact term Killua mentioned, or he thought of as, there's a beautiful shot of him, kind of this, larger than life looming presence. I love that type of thing in anime as well. It's one of those things you can do in anime. So it's interesting, that of course, ultimately he's quite a nice person. He's a kind-hearted person. And, there is quite a focus on his heart specifically, right? His emotional side, and how he deals with certain things, his mentality, his headspace going into this challenge, and potentially going into the NGL. Lots of interesting talking points here. But Knuckle is certainly the major focus of this episode, and I've got to say I really enjoyed it. As you saw, I took to him almost immediately. 2 episodes in, I just adore this character. He's just got all of the elements of such a likable character, man. It's a classic case of hard exterior and a gentle interior, right? Or soft interior. Now, the thing is, even though, my first look at him is really quite an aggressive one, right? He just has that look. Don't judge a book by its cover and all of that. And just, his mannerisms and just how angry he seems to get. And, in that sense, I mentioned the expressions, right? And the detail in those expressions. I've got to say, in this episode specifically as well, you see the really, really great, character acting animation, especially for someone like Knuckle. It really gets across that expressive nature. But even though there are signs in the last episode, in terms of his true nature, here in this episode, you really, really, truly get to see him for the person that he is, right? He's got a heart of gold. He truly does. I think there's just so much to like about him. I can't see how anyone could possibly dislike this character, right? Especially after this episode. I just love how all of a sudden there's a completely new character that's been introduced just really quite recently. That's become someone I'm really quite excited for, right? It could be something as simple as just the banter that he's kind of able to facilitate in any given scene, once he has kind of taken to Gon and Killua. And, just those scenes of them sitting down and sharing a meal, and then, Palm kind of being taken by surprise as well, because it appears that she's the one who cooked that meal for them, because she is trying to help, I suppose, Gon and Killua, right, do her part as much as she can, because she kind of handed off the training aspect of it to Bisky, who's certainly doing her part, right? She's certainly putting them through it, because, she has an understanding now for the situation in the NGL, right? She asked about it in the last episode, and now she knows the type of training that has to be applied here, right? The type of training that they have to go through. Listen, Knuckle is, again, like I said, heart of gold, kind-hearted, all of that, but he is formidable. I mean, it's really quite clear that both Gon and Killua understand that this person is a bit above their level at this point, right? Especially even more so in that depleted state. And the thing is, Knuckle, that's one of the things that made him kind of emotional, right? And he starts to tear up, given the state that they kind of arrive in. So even though he does kind of have a fun and goofy disposition, it doesn't mean that he's not capable. He's really quite capable, right? It appears that he is good enough to, accompany them in the NGL, but, that's not the test here. He's being tested on something else. All 4 of them. And then, of course, let's not forget Palm as well. They're being tested on really specific things from the looks of it, sorry. And, like I said, now it's becoming a little bit more clear. The reasoning, Metro kind of picked all of them, kind of hand-selected these people, these up-and-coming hunters, right? Again, perhaps a few of them are at a bit of a different level, bit of a different stage, right? If you compare Gon and Killua to some of these other ones, people like Knuckle and Shoot, even though I didn't really get much on Shoot just yet, you can kind of, assume that he's going to be around the same level as Knuckle, at least in terms of capabilities. Because just from that first look I get of Shoot, You can see it's a completely different approach and personality to Knuckle. So yeah, it certainly feels like that Knuckle is good enough, right? He is good enough. He is capable enough, powerful enough, as far as combat ability goes, right? I'd say he is intelligent as well, right? But he's being tested on something else, like I mentioned a little bit earlier. I think it's his resolve that's being kind of tested here, right? Shoot certainly knows about Knuckles' personality, and I'm assuming that in addition to Shoot, Morel also knows about Knuckles' personality, and then of course I suppose in addition to that, Netero knows about that. And ultimately, even though there is this newfound respect and perhaps even friendship with Gon and Killua, it doesn't mean that he's going to sacrifice his ambitions, right? He made that really quite clear, right? But again, at the same time, he has taken to Gon and Killua. He is more than open to helping them out as well, right? He's taken actually a bit of an interest in helping them grow. Especially after he got a, I don't know, understanding for Gon and Killua's personality. I'd say Gon specifically in this case, right? Because it was a bit of an exchange between the two. Really quite an interesting one. And his really distinct or unique approach or philosophy is certainly at play here, even in engaging Gon and understanding Gon, or kind of gaining an understanding for Gon. And then, of course, beyond that, his role possibly in the whole NGL aspect of this, right? His reasoning behind it in the first place, really, that took me by surprise, a good type of surprise at that. Now, I'll come back to that. Let's kind of go through some of the bullet points, I suppose, for the episode. A few things that kind of really stand out to me. The absence of FILMBuFF. I've got to say, I was a little bit surprised not to see anything, not even a glimpse of FILMBuFF after that beautiful introduction I got in the last episode. Because as a whole, I was kind of hoping to have, a great shot of FILMBuFF, right, from a scene, so I can kind of use that as a thumbnail. Because ultimately, for the last episode's thumbnail, I did end up choosing Palm, right? But, it was a difficult choice given the fact that, this is a major character introduction as well in FILMBuFF. So yeah, hopefully I get a bit more of a focus on FILMBuFF in the next episode. But, I did get Neferpito, right? So that's always a good thing. It is. But, it's a really quick check-in as well. But, it's in a bit of a different setting, isn't it? It's a lab setting. But the thing is, Neferpito feels like she's right at home, right? The thing they've established is that, these Chimera ants, such as Neferpito and now, of course, FILMBuFF, and again, the incoming third Royal Guard, these are a different type of Chimera ant, right? Different caliber, different ilk, right? These are intelligent beings. I mean, of course, some of these other ones are really quite intelligent as well. You think of Peggy, you think of Colt. You get a bit of an extended scene here of Colt and Peggy kind of discussing the tactics, the chess match at play here, right? Back and forth, trying to be a step ahead, laying traps, but then, the other side is already kind of thinking ahead. Again, it's kind of like L and Light from Death Note, right? Thinking 2 steps ahead. Not only are you thinking about your own next move, you have to kind of anticipate the reaction to that move, and then already think of a counter to that move as well, right? So you really have to be quite active in this situation, right? Given just the the magnitude of it, and you see that Netero and his 2 associates here are certainly doing that. But yeah, I'll come back to that in a sec. But yeah, you see that these ants like Colt and Peggy, yes, intelligent, but then Neferpito is someone really quite special, right? It's like the next step up in their evolution, essentially. And just the fact that they are Royal Guard, it just means that even their birth, to begin with, is something a bit more special in comparison to some of the other Chimera ants, right? Essentially the buildup, everything that kind of goes into, them being born is a little bit different as well. So you see Neferpito feels like she's in her element. And even in her first appearance, you see that she wants to hit the books almost immediately. She wants to be a part of things. She wants to get caught up on everything, right? And yeah, she does that. She does exactly that. And she just gets her claws right into everything almost immediately. And then, of course, once again, you've got to bring up the feline curiosity aspect of it as well. That's certainly quite present. So yeah, in terms of the lab setting, I'm not really sure how exactly that came about, the whole setup of it, especially because it came about rather quickly as well, I mean, she essentially has everything she needs. I mean, he's kind of housed in this really high-end a chamber type thing. Again, reminiscent of Dragon Ball as well. And Kite's look, you see, he's really quite scarred up at this point. He's certainly been put together again. You see that his arm's been reattached, his head's been reattached. But the thing about Neferpito feeling really quiet in her element, that doesn't really surprise me that much, right? Again, these are not just creatures that have some human DNA as a part of their buildup. Their actual creature buildup, or that aspect of it, that's actually really quite special as well, right? That's been clear for some time now. But then on the flip side, you also have the Nen aspect of it, right? The whole, ability that's being developed, or it was developed essentially, as I saw a glimpse of it, all for the purpose of kind of resurrecting Kite, right? I'm sure it can be applied to others and other things as well, other situations as well. But, it came about because of her need to relive, that dreamlike scenario again, right? So she has to resurrect Kite. But, of course, us, the audience, knows it's not going to be Kite. It's just not. It's not going to be that same Kite, right? So it'll be interesting to see how Neferpito reacts to that, or if that even matters at all, right? Did that play a part? Did Kite's emotions in that encounter, throughout the night play a part in this, this scenario that she's got in her mind that she wants to relive, right? Or is it as simple as just kind of rebuilding those combat abilities, right? Is that all she cares about here? It'll be interesting to see once, new Kite comes about. And I'll be honest, folks, at this point, I'm not even entirely sure how I feel about that. I'm kind of undecided still. I just kind of need to see more about this, potential Kite resurrection. I mean, of course, one thing is clear, that he is going to, continue playing a part, even though it might not be an active role or anything. Just his presence in that state is going to play a part, right? Be it, be it for someone like Neferpito, be it for the whole, Chimera ants against the humans aspect of it, but ultimately, Gon and Kite, right? And that aspect of it, it's going to come into play, of course. But yeah, going back to Neferpito, you see that Peggy and Colt bring this, new situation to her attention, and she's got no interest in it, right? She's all about, okay, you handle the things outside, and I'll do my thing here, the resurrection of Kite and all of that, and I'll protect, the insides of the castle and the queen and all of that, right? Ultimately, they cannot get to the queen. It's as simple as that. Netro and Morel and Nov, they simply cannot get to the queen as long as Neferpito is there, right? And now, in addition to Neferpito, there's FILMBuFF as well. So, if it was impossible before, now it's just, unthinkable, isn't it? Even trying to approach the castle. So, part of the strategy is certainly to draw her out, by taking out all of these, lurkers, some of these ants that have lost that discipline and that are kind of a little bit overconfident as well, apparently, because of this discovery of Nen. So you kind of do get an understanding for the game plan, right? You take out enough of them that, at some point she is going to have to come out. And, if, I think it's a big if, and I really do not think she'll come out and kind of engage or take the bait or anything. But, if you look at it from their perspective, from Netro's group's perspective, yeah, ultimately, perhaps if you can take out most of them and then, it's just her left, or just her and a handful of them left, then, maybe it's a bit of a different, scenario in their minds in terms of going up against her. 3-on-1, 3 against 1, that could be interesting. It could. But you see, even someone like Netro needs a bit of, a bit of, not help, a bit of training, perhaps. That's a feeling I got, as Novel, I kind of combined Nov and Morel there, as, they team up to drop those ants into that dimension. I suppose it is a pocket dimension from the looks of it. It's like a closed off room, right? Almost kind of looked like one of those training stages in like a Street Fighter game, right? But yeah, as far as training goes, you see that someone like Netro is open to it as well. To me, it kind of felt like, okay, maybe he's a little bit rusty, and he understands that, okay, I'm going to have to flex quite a bit, you know. But yeah, in terms of putting a team together that had really quite a specific skill set, yeah, you see it at play here, right? It's really quite effective. And you know, this place, this other dimension, almost pocket dimension, that the ants are being sent into, that they themselves can also enter. And I suppose that is a place that Nov does pull out the big pipe from in the last episode as well. Now, you know, in terms of that place, that other place, I suppose, is it kind of the same as perhaps a safe house? You know, in gaming terms. So if need be, could you actually have all of them actually go into that place, right? And it's kind of hidden in that sense, right? I suppose it might not be something that Neferpito can sense, or, you know, maybe their presence can disappear altogether, right? Could it be something like that? Or could it be something like, okay, she can sense their presence still, but she's not able to kind of locate them, right? Because again, they entered that room, that other place, that pocket dimension. So the mechanics of it are really quite interesting, and the things it could allow for, you know, throughout this arc. So for example, you know, this type of ability, this, you know, pocket dimension that Nov is able to kind of, you know, access through these portals that he essentially conjures up, right? I mean, that's really, really in line with the approach, right? The sneaking, it's like a sneaking mission. Right? It kind of really reminds me of Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater in that sense. But yeah, you know, for example, you could have a bunch of them in that dimension, in that room, in that space. So potentially Nov could actually open up a portal in a really, you know, crucial or distinct location as far as the Chimera ants go, and he could let all of them out of that dimension just like that, right? But again, you know, bit of a catch, isn't it? Because Nov has to actually gain access first to that place himself. Then he can actually open up a portal, right? If I'm understanding his ability correctly here. So maybe at some point I could see, you know, their take on a bit of a Trojan horse approach, right? You could have a bunch of them just inside of that portal, right? Sorry, not in the portal, inside of that dimension, the pocket dimension, that room. And then, you know, the portal opens up into a really, you know, specific location, and all of them just come out, right? That could be a really cool approach. But again, you know, for that to be effective, and if I'm understanding his ability correctly at this point, he's got to be there himself, Nov that is, then he can open up a portal. So that excites me quite a bit, you know, the application of this and all the possible, you know, scenarios that you can think of, right? Yeah, it's exciting. It is. But going back to Gon, Killua, and Knuckle, yeah, you know, a thing that's really quite the standout in this episode is Gon's approach, his growth on display, right? You know, the scene that's really quite a standout is him, or, you know, us getting this internal monologue of him actually, you know, thinking it out and really applying the things he's been through, you know, quite recently as well, of course, in the NGL. And it's really left quite the impact on him. It's given him quite the reality check. He understands now that, okay, returning at this point, it's not beneficial at all to them, right? Of course, Killua agrees, but, you know, you get it through Gon, right? They didn't take the token. You know, the funny thing is, imagine if Palm finds out that they had the chance to take the token, but they didn't. But of course, it makes complete sense for them to not take the token at this point, because it'd be completely pointless for them to return at this point. Because ultimately, at least from Gon's perspective, it's all about being strong enough that you can actually go back in there, right? Hang in there, right? And kind of rescue Kite, again, from Gon's perspective as of this point, right? That's his motivation. And he kind of brings that up in the last episode as well, right? Because Gon and Killua had two different ideas in terms of how to approach this, right? And you kind of get to see the continuation of that mindset in this episode. But yeah, in terms of Knuckles' philosophy, you know, the Beast Hunter, apparently, yeah, it's all about, you know, not judging something before you have an understanding for it, right? Truly kind of having an understanding for it. You know, I believe he said something like, you know, simply put, you know, I'm trying to keep them from doing its job, the force that is. So, you know, it's one of those moments that really makes you go, oh, okay, this is interesting to have this mindset, be a part of this, right? He said he doesn't like the idea of cutting off anything that doesn't quite fit the mold, and that you simply cannot judge something that you haven't seen before, right? His approach, and it's an approach that he does take with Gon as well. And then you see, because of that, he has an understanding for Gon, and he's kind of spot on about it as well, right? And Gon takes to him as well because of it. But again, Killua's reaction to Knuckles' philosophy of exchanging blows before you get to even judge anyone in that manner. But given the things that Killua has seen and experienced really quite recently in the NGL, yeah, he knows this is the type of approach that can get him killed. Right, Knuckle, that is. But again, I think once Knuckle does actually get to go out there at some point, and he does come across Chimera Ants, and he does get to exchange blows, or even before that, perhaps, he'll understand, okay, this is a different case altogether, right? But yeah, even so, I think it's an interesting approach to have, a different mindset on these potential new creatures. But that brings me back to this really specific pairing, right, by Netero and Morale and Nov, and this little mini training arc that they've set up for these 5 characters. In a sense, it really kind of feels like it's kind of forcing them to confront their really complementary failings at that. Like I touched upon a little bit earlier, the parallels between Gon and Killua and Knuckle and Shoot, right? They do kind of feel like similar types of personalities. You've got the emotional, hot-blooded characters such as, Knuckle and perhaps Gon as well. And then you've got people like Killua and Shoot, perhaps. But, like I said, I believe there's some key differences, even though, Knuckle and Gon are quite similar. And, they took to each other immediately as well, once they kind of got to know each other a bit. To me, I think the main difference here is resolve, right? Gon seems to have quite a bit of resolve, right? But his shortcomings might be in other areas. But, on the flip side, you have Knuckle, who is quite a bit like Gon, but his shortcomings might be resolve. Like I said a little bit earlier, he's got all of it. He's got the skill set, right? He's got the intelligence, he's got the experience, but it appears that his resolve isn't quite there yet. But then again, on the flip side, you see that Gon might not have all of that experience, on the same level as someone like Knuckle at this point in time, but he's got the resolve. And I'm sure, even Killua and Shoot are going to have these similarities, but some key differences as well. But yeah, I think that does it for this episode, folks. I mean, at this point, the pacing and the approach is really quite clear, right? And it's as expected as well. Like I said a few episodes ago, it's been building, and then it reaches that crescendo, right? Ends up in Kite's death and, Gon and Killua's escape, panicked escape. But I suppose it was Killua specifically because Gon had to be knocked out, right? So yeah, it feels like it's going to take this approach for the next few episodes. And that's fine. That's fine. I don't mind it. Like I said, it was expected, right? It had to kind of slow down at some point. And it's even reflected in the approach that Netero and his associates are taking as well. So yeah, I don't mind it at all. But I could see how, maybe, after getting, getting the really intense episodes, the lead up, the build up to the encounter, the Neferpito, Kite, and Gon and Killua encounter, I could see how maybe for some, going back to this type of approach or pacing could be, I don't know, not a letdown, but, maybe a little bit deflating. I could see how some people could really look at it like that, but I think that this little mini arc is actually quite the right approach, right? You do get the NGL aspect of it, right? It continues because now again, you've got that team, Netero and his associates tagging in and applying their really specific approach, right? So it kind of moves that plot ahead. And then you've got this side, you've got the new characters, you've got people like Palm, Knuckle, and Shoot coming in as well now, and the return of Bisky and Gon and Killua getting to perhaps reach the next level through training, really specific training at that. So I don't mind it. But the thing is, this episode is certainly more of a Knuckle approach, or sorry, a focus on Knuckle and that side of the story at this point. That being outside of the NGL, and then there's a bit of a check-in for the NGL. So I'm hoping, maybe it can kind of go back and forth. Sometimes maybe the episode is more so about the NGL and how Netero and Morel and Nav and Neferpito and FILMBuFF and, all of them on that side of things, right? And then sometimes it can kind of switch back to more of a focus on these characters. But yeah, if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access or full opacity or timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel in the process as well. The links are in the description and the pinned comment, also links to social media if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.